Welcome back to another episode of the Blockrunner podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, Iman.
Going on, dude?
And on sticks, we got TJ.
Hello.
And joining us today, we got J-Rod and L Trillionaire, founders of Bitmap Studios. Thank you guys for joining us, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's good to have you guys on. So we had some pretty cool, interesting Twitter space conversations over the last several weeks talking about all kinds of things, right? DMT, Bitmap and the metaverse on Bitcoin ecosystem that, you know, it's kind of the point of Bitmap, right? Everybody has their own like interpretation or understanding of how this thing should actually be executed or rolled out or whatever. And you guys have demonstrated that, like, you know, some of the tools that we're putting out there have some real application or use case, right? So
yeah,
we'll definitely get into that as far as like what's your experience, and then you guys bringing in your own frameworks as well in the avatar realm. So, but before we get into that, you know, give us your background as far as your history in ordinals and the Bitmap ecosystem, everything that led you to become like metaverse developers.
Perfect.
All right. You want to start that, J-Rod, or this with me?
You can go ahead, and then I'll go ahead and chime in.
All right. So basically, for me, when I first started, I started on this metaverse journey, let's say like 2021, probably on the reas of Sandbox and the Decentraland, right? And I was there playing around with those avatars. And first I started with the Sandbox. I started exploring, remember, with the Snoop Dogg ones and the Cyberkongs ones.
Yeah.
I think it was the first one that I got on it. So what's cool, right? What's cool, something that I really like is because we had audio at the time, so we could talk with each other there. And I have many friends that live in different countries. So we started to kind of figure out a time that everybody could be online, and we started to kind of make some meetings inside of but then Sandbox was kind of limited, right? So then we migrated to the central line. The central line was a bit more cooler, in my opinion, right? But it's still very limited in terms of development. You know, we bought a land. We already first started with this. We have no idea what to really do it with this. I have one of our friends was doing some 3D, so we thought like, okay, let's move on the central land. And I think we can express ourselves better. But anyways, was not that easy, in my opinion, and was not that fun also. It's like, it was very limited, very, very limited, right? So that was basically how we started. And when this thing started to kind of lose the hype, let's say like that, because it got saturated, as you don't have too many things to do there, basically, was not that fun. So we just realized that, like, you know, the assets that we bought from avatars, wearables, the lands, we still have these things to this day, but basically it's like useless, right? Basically useless. And when I come up to the originals was something that I was looking like for. And the moment that I see where I have the opportunity, so I kind of move on this. But basically it was like that, the experience with the metaverse coming from the 3D side. You know, I've been doing some music, and, you know, I started to investigate how to do the 3Ds with the video mix that we have, the editor that we have, the producer. And it was very cool for me. This thing was kind of, you know, I have this blow up of imagination and just waiting on the canvas. I thought the metaverse would really be a thing when we saw Facebook, but don't really happen like that, right? I think like everybody thought the same, but
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, we had a very similar kind of like a roadmap as well, but we started with Decentraland only because we were looking for a platform where we can get like development, right, to build out, you know, all kinds of functional things. And so Decentraland was the only platform that kind of enabled that. But I'm curious to hear, J-Rod, what's your background and your take on the metaverse and how you got into this?
So yeah, I first came to ordinals back April, Mayish, minted Bitmap. You know, I was basically trying to, I was understanding that Bitmap would have some sort of relationship to the metaverse. Before I did get into crypto, you know, I attempted to launch a an Android runner game, basically. That was based on like my wife and my son. It was a Snow White based type of runner game. So I knew that, you know, gaming would be big in crypto. I know that it had attempted to run in the previous cycle, but with something regarding like Bitcoin and the relationship to Bitcoin, it was new and unheard of. So, you know, when I went into Bitmap, when I minted it, I kind of went in faith. I was actually listening to your guys' videos, and that was kind of like, you know, feeding me my desire to do something with Bitmap. You know, you can see my X handle. I have jrod.bitmap. I went all in on Bitmap, and you know, I started to understand more. Me and Trillionaire met at the end of 2023, and you know, we came together. We just were responsible for growing another community, and he had the background, the you know, the metaverse background that I was kind of looking for. He saw the vision, and we came into the alignment basically. And I wanted to do something metaverse related. I wanted it to be, you know, Bitmap related. And I just devoted a lot of my time and energy to understanding that, you know, with the right other, you know, dev in place, we were able to, you know, pull the trigger and make Bitmap Studios and BitAvatars come to reality, basically.
That's perfect. Yeah. That's really, that's good to hear that we actually had some kind of positive influence on other developers. Absolutely. Yeah, so thank you for that. It's never really truly obvious if like the things we say resonate or not with people, because obviously if you pay attention to what we say, one of our main motivations in this like metaverse ecosystem is to support creators the best we can, right? Because we understand we have firsthand experience. You know, the other end of that, if you don't support these types of individual actors, like nothing gets done. There's nothing fun to do. There's no reason for people to actually be present and persistent within the metaverse landscape, right? So well, that was our original thesis 5 years ago, all the way back in Decentraland days. So yeah, it's like we're bringing that same ethos and like motivations with us along this Bitmap ecosystem, because it's even more daunting of a task this time around, because it's literally an open canvas. Anything can be done. Or
we have to build the entire infrastructure to like support this.
Well, we don't have to, right?
Well, if we want to, I guess, execute on our thesis, we have to.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, give us expand a little bit more. Okay. So Bitmap Studios, you guys you have the right mindset, right? You guys understand the task at hand with Bitmap, right? It's not just, it isn't just an inscription, right? It is just a text inscription, but it comes with so much more, right? Like there's an actual like mission attached to these ordinal assets, right? And it's an ecosystem alignment for all of us who own these things to pretty much contribute however we can to build out this thing called a metaverse infrastructure, right? So give us your interpretation of that. You have Bitmap Studios, and now you're coming out with BitAvatars, right? So explain what the BitAvatars, what they are, what makes them unique from other avatars in the metaverse market.
Sure. Trillionaire, do you want to answer that? Are you there?
Did you drop out? Is he still there? Maybe he's muted.
I can't see him.
I'm in here.
Oh, there you are.
Did you get that? Do you want to answer that question, or do you want me to address that?
Yeah, sure. I can go ahead with that. So basically, the BitAvatar was like me, J-Rod. We meet each other, like J-Rod say, we meet each other in the end of 2023, right? We kind of build a community together, and we always talking about, like, for me, I've been participating in the whole, not just NFTs, but all those coins, crazy stuff from the 2021. So, you know, I was already looking for, I had some business in real life. So I was already looking for do some stuff inside of the Web3, right? So we started the conversation like, let's do something. But, you know, for me, I need to also, you know, know a bit better there for the person. But long story short, we did a runes meme coin, right? And from promoting this runes meme coin, we're talking about like how can we promote these things? Like it was just of some sort of fun. I'm pretty, just open the mint for anyone that wants to mint. And then J Rod come up say like, hey man, look at what I think would be cool is to have an avatar to do this thing. And then I was like, yeah, man. I was checking those avatars, but these don't really stick with me because they were too much basic in my opinion, right? So they were like, okay, let me go ahead, let me see how can I build one of those avatars. So I got on my computer like a couple hours, I think so, 3-4 hours maybe. And as I have some basic experience, let's say like that, in the originals and all that, I built an avatar. But then I realized that the process was not that easy. Be honest, it was not that easy. It's like you need to make it, you had to make like 3 or 4 transactions, different transactions. Then you need to create HTML documents. It's like, files to inscribe and all that. So when you have some experience, it's easy. You can do this, easy, but it still took some time. But for the normies, I was like, man, there is no way we're gonna have adoption if you try to bring it up people to do all those steps and all that. It's not gonna happen. So then, we come back, start to talk, and I was like, man, I want to make this a collection, but I would love to do this as a collection, but there is no way to do this thing like that. It's like, there's no reason. It's just, it's kind of like, no, it's not going to work. And then we start to talk and we start to think about how could we make this. And then we just realized, hey, let's contact somebody that have more experience with the codes, because I know codes too, but we need more experience, dev for the task. So we find a dev, we start to talk. We talk with multiple people, and finally figured out one that understood what we talk, and have a confidence, have a business that we can kind of trust and all that. So we say, okay, this dude looks good. They understand the original. He's already working with some projects. So then we proceed to kind of put together all the steps that we need to do at the time. The first goal was like, man, we need to make this happen with one single transaction from 0 to 100, because with these, we knew that we could be possible to people mint a collection, because that's another thing. You couldn't with the present, those BSC 420 that we were using, you couldn't even produce a mint, right? Same way with the Next, for example. You guys kind of put the work to build it up, the platform that's possible to make like privileged authority, right? So we kind of face the same thing, because you kind of have whitelist, you kind of set up, timeline for the means, anything like that. So we work around the mind, and finally after, I think we took like more than a month, I think so, man, just trying to figure out how to do this thing that way, So then the moment that we figured out, we still like, okay, now looks good. We have these with a single transaction, and then we talk like that, okay, but I don't want people still needs to inscribe the text tree, things like that. So we work around the recursive. So now everything is on chain, and you can really 100% put everything together with the one single inscription, right? And I was already talking with Will in the past, like talking about, I was thinking about launching some block drop for Bitmaps. I was trying to do some stuff because I really like, I don't know, for me, since the first moment that I heard about the DMT presentation, I was like, man, I'm on it. I was selling for the first time, like for the first meme, I'm on it. So we talking to J-Rod, and we were like, man, we want to launch this collection because it's something new, it's something cool. But we were like, nah, man, we need to hold on the emotion, and let's take a step further. Let's introduce this to the block runner guys. Try to put together with the Mscribe, see how we can make this a UNAT collection, because I knew the block drop was on the way, right? And the top ecosystem, I mean, basically, is the only real innovation, the L1 that I'm seeing, at least, is from top, So I was like, I want to be part of that. I want to be part of this ecosystem, right? So then we took this step forward, and it was kind of a bit hard for that, because the dev, he knew about the original, but they had no idea about the DMT. And when we present to him, he kind of blows his mind, bro. When we show that whole idea, bro. he was like,
In
man,
a good way or a bad way?
what's no, in the positive way,
Okay,
man.
good,
I
good.
think anyone that understand this thing is, they feel kind of inspired because it's
Hmm.
something different.
Yeah.
It's something different, something new. So gotta give the flowers to you guys on this, because even the dev, the first moment that he saw, he was like, oh man, this thing, seems very nice. I need some time to work my mind around. And basically that's how it came together, making it took like 4 months, I think so. We started this thing on June,
Wow.
right? We started to talk internal, and basically 4 months, but feel grateful and beautiful because we finally, be able to do this. And yeah, basically was like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's talk to us a little bit about how you actually introduced DMT to your developer.
I'm curious.
Yeah, what was that process like? Like, did you just tell him like read this Git book, or is it like watch all those videos? Like, how did you actually get him to understand? And how long did it take for like that? I guess the DMT pill to digest, right, to where his mind was blown, or how are you describing it?
Yeah, basically was a bit of everything that you say. It was
Okay.
like, because man, like I'm saying, for me, I just saw the documentation. I was like, man, I'm on it, and it was pretty easy for me to understand what's going on. And then when you try to explain to somebody else, you think, it's gonna be easy for him too. Because for me, I was like, man, this is so clear. But we took some time to talk with him. He was like, okay, I understand. And then he come back like a week late. He say like, man, how is doing this thing? Like how how is how is generate those images? What did this came from? Was the most difficult was like that. It was like, what did this, where did this came from? The idea to explain to him like, man, it's because this is coming from nowhere. It's like it's being generated in the moment that you're doing this thing. It's like it's completely on chain. This is not like anyone platform provide the image or things like that.
Yeah.
So then we provide the documentation, and then I talked with him many hours. Even J-Rod, because J-Rod was more like, as we have a kind of long friendship, because it was kind of intense since we met. So when I talked to MT, he was kind of like, okay, I'm buying this thing. Pushing forward, but he didn't really understood all the things in terms of technical, right, J-Rod? By the time.
Yeah, and he's a very, very experienced, dev. But yeah, it was a learning curve. And actually, Trillionaire is the one that was providing a lot of guidance on this. So, he has a pretty good, solid foundation of this, of DMT. Me myself, I trained my bot on DMT, uploaded the theory, and the bot was training me. But kind of like Trillionaire, was able to kind of, basically prompt the dev. And it was a lot of back and forth communication, until, the understanding was solid. So it is a pretty advanced concept, even to any dev out there.
Yeah, you gotta think like that. The history was like that. I started with the documentation because I thought, okay, it's a dev, so should be easy for him looking at the documentation, right? You guys have piece of JSONs there and all these, but then was not really working like that. So then we make multiple calls, and try to explain. And finally, I just go have for the YouTube channel also, and I make a kind of compilation of videos and say, look, watch this. And then from this point, when he come back, he was like, okay, now I got it. Now I got it. He come back, he was like, okay, and that's something that you guys should do.
You put him in contact with another dev too.
Oh yeah, you guys send us to another dev, and at the time we were still figuring out, let's say, that's the original side. So they say like, okay, we can do this, but was not possible at the moment. At the time way back, we talked with the Pet Flyers guys, right?
Pet Flyers,
those guys was very cool guys, by the way.
Yeah, shout out to them.
Guys. Shout out Pet Flyers, yeah, bro. Very cool guys. So we try to work with this, but we need to figure out first the side, because basically was something that needs to be figured out on the original side before we kind of import into the DMT, right? So yeah, there was a learning curve. It was like that. we first introduced the documentation, then I tried to explain with voice. But you guys should be proud and grateful for this, because what really worked was the video. The moment that I sent out the videos,
Yeah.
he was like, what was a Saturday. He
Yeah.
come back like, I think he took a marathon, right?
Yeah.
He come back like,
I have
took the pill for
a
real.
hunch of what video it was. I think it was that one where you literally broke down like how the script goes from the rendering pathway. It was a much needed. I think it was the same video where we talked about block drops maybe for the first time.
Yeah, that's when the community thought that these were like off-chain assets.
Correct. And you had to like literally walk through the chain of like
Yeah.
on-chain recursion, right?
Yeah,
In order for this
correct.
stuff to be rendered. I was like, so yeah, I mean that's much needed.
Yeah.
More content like this, right?
You know, kind of looking back, I'm not even sure how we first like explained how DMT worked. Kind of like in the early days, in the very first video when we released everything, just because DMT is has like a lot of surface area ways to like explain what it is. Like I like to use thermodynamics a lot just because it makes sense to me, but you know, there's all kinds of different analogies that help explain DMT, and so it really depends on like kind of the background of the person who's like trying to understand what is happening. And leveraging kind of Bitcoin data to produce new assets in a way where it's like the supply is non-arbitrary, the trait selection is also non-arbitrary. Like these are new tools that a developer can leverage that is not like commonly like used at all, right? Because Bitcoin provides us that canvas of this like high energy input and low entropy state output, and like its value proposition is like it's so powerful, right? And to explain that to somebody is definitely not easy, especially when you're trying to accomplish something as complex as avatars.
Correct.
So
100%, man.
Yeah, I'm
100%.
curious. So why avatars? Like what was it that brought you to like to focus on avatars versus like anything else? Like why avatars?
Basically, it was because for me, it was the easiest one to onboard, in my opinion. Was like, because in the moment that we were talk, you know, FOXXI, of course, FOXXI was here. They launched the avatar, but they was not talking about they have a game coming. You guys have not announced that you guys was working on the NATRIX, none of them.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, the only thing that we had was basically the Inscribed.Space, and that's what I'm saying. Was like, I thought like, you have people building these, but nobody really take it as, okay, let's do this real serious. Like let's figure out those problems, because somebody see those avatars and they think about, like, I was like, man, I don't think many people knows that they can actually do some at least basic stuff on the bitmaps. And I thought like,
Yeah.
well, to build that whole platform metaverse, you guys knows better than probably all of us talking here. You knows this is requires time, a well knowledge, understanding how it works, and also investment from all the sides, like, you know, time, financially, experience, all that. And we don't have these at the moment. It's like there is no way that we could like pull out a metaverse, let's say like in 2 months. That makes no sense for us. It's like we don't have those background like you guys have, all the experience, right? And so I was like, no, man, I think that avatars is an easy way to onboard more people here to see the metaverse, because then we can create some content on social media and all that.
Yeah.
And that's why we choose that route, right? That's why we choose like, okay, let's move on with avatars. I think we can provide some sort of value, you know, in a way that we can manage, right? Basically.
Yeah.
Also, I'll add to that. Like you guys previously mentioned about, Bitmap, it's really at its infancy stage. So what we saw is the opportunity that a metaverse will be developed, whether it's one or several. And the first type of asset that you need in a metaverse, obviously, is an avatar. And also what me and Trillionaire, what I was witnessing all over like X at that time, especially like early this year on Inscribed.Space, is a lot of these, I call them arbitrary avatar designers now. A lot of these arbitrary avatar designers were basically designing these, BRC 420 models based to their likings. And they were basically selling the same type of avatar, 15 of the same type of avatars.
Yeah.
So I told Trillionaire, this is number one, me personally, if I'm going to even buy an ordinal, why am I going to choose to buy the same type of ordinal? And two, the design, it's not really to my liking. It's arbitrary. And, three, at that point, when we kind of put everything on the table, when we were coming up with this game plan, we're saying, you know what, a metaverse is going to need avatars. They're going to need unique avatars because people desire an avatar that's associated with them. They're not going to choose the same avatar and be communicating with the same type of avatar.
Yeah.
Correct. 100%.
And yeah. So, and then on top of that, there wasn't an existing avatar collection where like, when ordinals launched or, NATs, UNATs, people, they push the mint button and they're actually minting a unique digital asset. It was just like an untapped market.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense because the avatar is kind of like a PFP where it's all about the identity, right? And when it comes to the metaverse, a unique identity is a primitive for making the metaverse work.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot about how our the ecosystem alignment, I guess, with DMT and the metaverse, how it just makes a lot of sense to us specifically because there's a lot of parallels between our like physical reality and what we're kind of constructing here in this virtual reality environment, right? But the thing that we're porting over between these two like planes of existence, it's still the human mind, right?
That's right.
We're still the main users of the virtual space as we are the main users of our physical reality, right? So our behavioral expectations are not going to all of a sudden shift whenever we enter like a virtual space, right? We're still going to we need to fulfill these core components of our psychology, like these things like self-actualization, self-identity, all that stuff.
That's right.
Right. And it's impossible to really achieve that, like you're saying, with a bunch of carbon copies of the same digital asset. I've completely lost my identity in that scenario.
That's right.
So we're 100% aligned with this. And it's why we developed the UNAT, I guess, framework in expectation that people like yourselves would start to apply that into the metaverse like ecosystem. Right. So you guys are spot on with, I think, your assessment, right? And I totally agree that the avatar probably is going to be like the killer onboarding tool for the metaverse, just because you're saying like there's so many different flavors and interpretations you can kind of put out there, kind of like a meme coin.
That's right.
That's the existing thesis, right? Like what's going to onboard the masses into the blockchain ecosystem, right? It's going to be these meme coins because you could just spin them up. They have so much like cultural identity associated to them, so people can like easily identify with that and be a part of a massive community, like at the click of a button.
That's right.
Essentially. Yeah.
So
I think the metaverse is really missing that. Like, what is that click of a button? Like, we deploy this thing. Now we have that same like gravitational pull towards this like ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So tell us how you plan on incorporating these avatars into the existing metaverse like environments, because I saw you guys have like a FOXXI partnership where they're actually fighting in a ring.
Yeah.
Right. So tell us like what's happening there. Are these going to become battle creations? Like what's the
where can one use these avatars?
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So we have this partnership with FOXXI. We're working very closely for like 3 months probably. J-Rod had contact with Kimi in the very beginning as they host a space together. And the moment that we present the idea, they were like, oh man, that's exactly what we were looking for. We were looking for people. I think the same way you guys, right? You build an environment and you kind of like, okay, I want people to come here and play around and express their creativity and help us to understand how it's gonna looks like. So we talk with FOXXI. We've been working, like I say, like for probably 3 months very closely. And we develop experience from the scratch with FOXXI, right? It's gonna be the first custom made experience with the Fox Bitverse. And when you have those avatars, basically the same way that you have the bit miners, when you connect it to the FOXXI Bitverse, you'll be able to deploy this in the land. So basically it would be the same. When you connect your wallet there and this recognize your inscription IDs that you hold this specific avatar, the same avatar is going to be introduced inside of the game. So first step, we have the boxing that you guys talking about. There is a experience that we've been developed from scratch, from zero. Is like something, the whole arena, the 3D arena, everything, was developed from scratch. And the mechanics of the game, all that has been developed from zero, exclusive for BitAvatars, right? But also, BitAvatars will be introduced in the game itself. FOXXI have those games of shooter game, right?
Yeah.
The first person shooter game. So you're gonna be able to play with the avatars there. The first step is there. You're gonna, connect and create your accounts with FOXXI, and the same avatar that you are holding in your wallet is the same one you will be able to use inside of the game too. So
yeah, that's great.
Also, yeah, that's great. And because like I say, from the central and all those past old metaverse, I got a bunch of kind of like useless because I'm not hanging around with these anymore. And maybe some movement there, I don't even know. Maybe some community there, but I don't have no interest. But basically, I'm just lose all my money because I cannot just plug in a different metaverse and utilize these assets that I have. So that was something that was very important for me and J Ross since the beginning. That was very important. So the first thing after we secure that we have a functional code, we talk, we make sure that we talk with all those projects develop experience inside of the metaverse on top of bitmaps, gaming, and we talk also with the Bitmap game that is Merlin. So the same way you'll be able to use those avatars there. We have a group chat with those guys that we have probably like 2 months, 2.5 months. And every time we make some updates to the code or whatever, we just send over for him to test and say like, okay, this can work here inside of a metaverse. So basically it's the idea of the multiverse, where you have one single asset and you are freely to move around and utilize these and all those platforms that is able. So with FOXXI, basically we work like that. First, you're gonna have the shooter game, right? And then the box game is the experience being built from zero. And the idea is to users have the opportunity to place bets, to you produce a championship. We have the ideas for the price and all that. And basically, it's how it's gonna work. You just need to validate your asset inside of your wallet, and then you'll be able to use on those metaverse.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and we just released the NATRIX recently, which is using MML, which is called Metaverse Markup Language, developed by Mscribe, and it's been one of the platforms that we've seen that have like the most potential to support creators, and through that framework, we're able to support like unique assets, and so you can imagine developers building like kiosks that are completely unique, and it essentially uses a script to generate these assets that when the 3D models are stored on Bitcoin, you can dynamically generate these unique experiences for any participants in the metaverse. And so part of I've seen in your script is support for MML too. And so I think what you guys are doing is like the large like challenge of the metaverse, because there's going to be so many experiences, and these experiences all use different technology stacks, and being able to have like an asset that is interoperable, like an identity, is one of the more critical things to kind of focus on. So you guys are doing a really great job at that. Now that you have like so much support, like even like from the NATRIX side, and the Bitverse from FOXXI, and and everything that Jeff is working on as well. So and then including Inscribed.Space too. So this is like a huge example of this like avatar experience being interoperable between these different experiences. So you announced a couple of weeks ago the integration of the block token. Do you want to go into detail as to like what you guys are thinking as far as the block token coming from a bitmap?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Thank you to mention that, man. Thank you to mention that. You know, block is it's like I'm saying, it's like a very close friend of mine was the one that deployed. So the moment that he's deployed, he just send out the message, say like, hey, I just deployed this block token. And I was like, no way. I was like, no way, because I was
Yeah.
like, how nobody deploy a token? Like,
Yeah.
I think it was like 2 or 3 days after the block drop.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And I was like, yeah, right. And I was like, man, how those guys, you know, nobody. And he said, no, bro, I check it. Nobody deploy this. And I was like, oh, great. That for me is great. And for us, we look like I started to think about like how could support this thing more than just post and repost, right? I think like how can we support it? And with the project, I talk with J Rod, I say, hey, you know what? We can do something that it's easy for us to do. In my opinion, it's a win-win situation. Everybody wins in the situation, right? And when I talk everybody, I'm talking the Bitmap, the users, me and J Raw as the project. So basically, what we made was like, let's have some spots, you know, guarantee whitelist that we can put out there and just say to the user, hey, if you want, you can exchange block tokens to those GTD wallets. We kind of set up the amount that is set up is basically one claim, you know, a bit more, a bit less, because the variation is very small. It's basically it's standard. So that's the way that I saw to support, and I can tell this for whatever that is build that project. I can tell you, you know, at least for me, from the experience that me and J Roy we had, works great. Was very great. It's like the Discord is like explode. After we make the post like, hey guys, you can claim a GTD whitelist with the block tokens, the Discord explode. And even for the Bitmap community, they should be happy with this, because many of those people that come around, because we did a job in the beginning, there was kind of like onboard people from different originals. We contact our community manager and say like, hey, I want you to go for the Solana guys, the Ethereum, yeah, and Polygon, all those dudes that maybe play around with those games and metaverse. I want you to contact the community and bring it up some giveaways and whitelist to this. So many people in the chat, they was like, hey man, what is block? What is a bitmap? They don't even knew what was a bitmap, because sometimes you be in the ecosystem and you just assume, oh, everybody knows what is a bitmap. But that's not true.
Yeah.
That was not true, right? And like I said, it was a win-win situation, because we have we teach people how to claim those blocks, because they have bitmap and they couldn't understand how to claim. So thank you guys also that you made on the Mscribe very easy. Anyone type that number, block there and check. But we even create a thread on how to identify this using whatever platform, how to claim. And it was great, man. What I can say is like, it was great. It's something that we tend to support. And after we did the meet, we have, you know, we will probably do more things supporting the block token, because it's a direct value for Bitmaps. We are bullish, so bullish on Bitmap, right? And
yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the block token, it's such an important role for the metaverse, just because when you look back at history and you look at the Web3 metaverses, when they reached their multi-billion-dollar market cap in the peak of 2021, that was the market cap for the fungible token, not the NFT land that they were, you know, that has a different market cap. And even though that market cap also went up high, it didn't go as high as the fungible token.
Yeah, for maybe not so obvious reasons, right? That's kind of the function of fungible tokens.
Yeah.
It's
more liquid.
There's a reason why 95% of the crypto market's value is around the fungibility side of the assets that are being created in the ecosystem. Also because they've been around longer. So like NFT infrastructure is still in development, like on Ethereum, Solana, even especially here on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right. But the fungible tokens, you know, they have much broader access to liquidity onboarding mechanisms, right? So what does that do overall for the metaverse ecosystem? It increases the overall value of the economy of this metaverse that we're building together. Right. So what does the expansion of the economic value do? It attracts more developers, more builders, more contributors.
Yeah.
right? So it's an absolute necessity for this ecosystem to, for one, discover its like most sensible, I guess, fungible token model. And from our perspective, it's one that like aligns with what makes Bitmap like a unique, I guess, introduction into the metaverse ecosystem in general, right? And to us, that is that non-arbitrary property.
Yeah,
right?
and there was other attempts to create a fungible token for Bitmap that we never thought it was going to work. There was airdrops, there's like
Different
claims,
claims, yeah,
and
wrappers,
and they all like wasn't aligned with Bitmap and wasn't aligned with Bitcoin. And so the block token was the first token that really aligns Bitcoin and Bitmap together in a way where if you have a Bitmap, you can just inscribe this child block token from your
Right.
Bitmap, and it's equitably distributed, right? It's like if you have a Bitmap, you have block tokens already embedded into
yeah,
your
and
parent asset.
it's the most important thing, and this goes for all block drops, right? If it aligns with the future proofing mechanisms, right? Bitmaps continue to proliferate.
That's right.
Every single block, right? And this is going to happen as long as Bitcoin exists. So the distribution mechanisms that like are tied to the underlying value of the Bitmap, they have to persist just like Bitmap does.
Yeah.
The only distribution mechanism that exists to facilitate that are block drops,
Yep.
right? So that means people who are acquiring these future block bitmaps, you know, they still have claim access to these future block tokens and the infinite array of possibilities of like different block dropped assets that can kind of
100%
come into people's possession, right?
And so we're here talking about Bitmap, but this works with BitAvatars, right? This DMT
True.
asset, like you could block drop wearables and
That's a good question.
additional, like all kinds of content that
Yeah.
Once those Bitavatars, show up again, because these are non-arbitrary occurrences, like 100 years from now, those Bitmap or those Bitavatars in the future will also have these block drops. And so now we can really take advantage of this like nature of Bitcoin that allows us to be able to account for future occurrences of these assets.
Correct. Yeah, so that's a good segue question. Have you guys considered any like potential future block drops to the Bitavatars or anything that you guys are working on? If you don't want to like drop that alpha, you don't have to. Just curious if you thought about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have that actually already planned. I don't know if Trillionaire wants to release all the details yet, but yeah, that's definitely in the works. Trillionaire, what do you want to?
Yeah, man, of course. That was one of the big reasons that we took the time to adapt the codes that we have to also work with the framework of TAP and DMT, right? That's one of the reasons, because of the block drops. There's an excellent way to add value to the community, and we don't need to, because sometimes I also understand some project wants to add value, but if you need, let's say, airdrop your whole community, how you gonna add value if you just for the reason to do this, you need to spend like 50K or 60K. So there's already the value that you could add, right? And with the block drops, you can kind of spend a reasonable amount of money that don't represent too much. You can keep going with add value, and this is definitely something that we're gonna do. It's like we already have an asset that like we talk with you guys now, like you mentioned, for the MML is fully compatible. So it's just a matter to work to implement all that. We know Alter Studio is working on the wearables. So the idea is put it all together. We have I think we can say that we have a 3D gold chain. It's a BTC 3D gold chain. And that's gonna be probably the first block draw we're gonna make, because it's something block draw we want to explore a lot, and this type of things, like the same way we talk with FOXXI, to be able to also see if users can use that in the Bitverse, and it seems like they can, as long as we provide all the information. So definitely is, man. I mean, feels good. And I believe that's when the fun really starts, when you have a community and you see that you can make they more happy. They, wants to support. Maybe somebody in the community has some idea. They can bring it up and say, hey, maybe he's a 3D developer, or maybe he has some idea. He can bring it up, and we just block drop to the whole ecosystem. So that's for sure. Block drop is in the roadmap. I think before we have the code, we already have the block drop
Yeah.
in the roadmap, right?
Yeah.
Hey, J-Rock. Was best
Yes,
like
yes, that's about right. Definitely. Yeah, the block drop was a main driving force for us to totally alter the script because we had a functional script that was ready to go on the ordinal side. And then I remember we were in communication with you, Will, and you were kind of guiding us on how to alter the script. And you know, we had already a functional script, and that would mean having to, take another significant investment to alter the script. So we did our due diligence, and we definitely believe that we made the right choice just because of the block drops. Now the implementation of the NATRIX, it allowed us to showcase the BitAvatars, and it was done on a live magnitude. So, block drops and just a lot going on with DMT is definitely a driving factor for not only us, but for anybody that's considering doing something that's metaverse related. Definitely, I would consider this protocol for sure.
Yeah, appreciate that. That's huge. That's a massive endorsement, and we got to kick back some appreciation in your direction for like live broadcasting, that whole that whole parcel construction process, and for everybody else who's doing stuff like that too, because you guys weren't the only ones. That stuff is massively helpful. We've got tons of feedback from people who are like, I don't even know how to code.
Yeah.
But because of MML's ease of use and maybe like some assistance of AI tools, and then watching, guys like yourselves kind of like build this stuff out, like I was able to do something with my parcel, right? Just so more content like that, the better, because really this is like the type of community we're trying to foster here, right? It's just doesn't matter what your range of skill is, like as long as you have a parcel within the NATRIX, like you can get started on your development journey, right? And we've seen people from the past like start as complete like technical newbies, and go from that stage within 6 to 12 month time frame of just building in the metaverse. Like they're full on developers. Some of them have like jobs now.
Yeah,
as right. Like they're building out different metaverse projects and stuff. So
interesting.
That we want to see a lot of that, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's from our end, that's the fulfilling stuff, right? To see that if the tools that we're putting out there, it's potentially transforming people's like ability, right? And giving them new purpose. Like I think that's really
a big
cool.
deal. That's a big deal. So talk to us about your experience building in the NATRIX. I know that you guys built that BitAvatars kind of location, and it's like one of the more well built out parcels that we've seen in the NATRIX. So talk to us about the experience, like using MML and just like constructing your location.
Right. I mean, first I would start saying, first, thank you guys to put up this together because it was great, the way to express the creativity. I also would like to give the flowers to Shanghai.
Yes.
Man, that was sensational. I was like, I just come up. What happened was like, I just come up to the Mscribe shot, and because as we working with the BitAvatars, right? We really, you guys know, when we're working on this thing, you don't really have much time to look at anything else. You fully focus is like, so we were fully focused on the BitAvatars. We bought the lands, and I was like, I have no doubt about that. I was like, of course I want the lands. I want to be here because it's gonna be on top of that. But I have no idea how it works. And then we come to the Mscribe shot, and I just asked. I was just send out. I was like, man, let me ask. Now I have some free time here. I'd ask. I was just waking starting my morning. I just send a message like, hey, how can I import those codes and how it works? Because somebody told me there was a code, and Shanghai just pop up from nowhere and say like, hey, bro, this is very easy. I can teach you. And I was like, okay. I sent here a DM right away, and he just say, can I share my screen with you? I was like, okay, for me sounds great. I was kind of impressed how they react and with the good intention. So he just screen share like, and I think it was not even 7 minutes, man, maybe 5 minutes. He just showed me how to import the 3D asset, and then how you can make the animation works. And that was it. That was it. And this is it. And then I just closed there. I started to work my mind. I come to the 3D software. I have some experience on the 3D side. So I started to animate. And I started to think about, I want to do something different, right? And there's another thing, because I was trying to for me, it's all about to bring it up real world experience and kind of like inside of the metaverse. I'm more like that. I know people want to do some futuristic all there, but for me, it's because of that. I want to have an avatar to do cool stuff that I could be possible in the real world too. So I just come up, I had the idea for the breakdance, and I started to develop, and I have a completely different time zone from J-Raw. We are like 9 hours, I think, of different. So I was already building all that. And it was pretty funny, man, because you have the MML, you can make a simulation before the import, right? So I was checking there how it looks. Then I come up in the NATRIX, and I can tell you, man, it was very easy to do this. It was like I started to import. I just need to figure out some stuff about the size, because when you make something that's too big, they're gonna disappear inside of the land.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just a base like that. I just adjust a bit. I was like, okay, looks cool. And then I come out directly in the live. And there was like, J-Raw was kind of, he started the day. They were like, bro, what the heck is this? What's going on here? It's like, and he's just watching the live. I was like, nah, bro, I don't know. I just want to do this thing. And
He
why
caught
not
me off guard.
showcase?
He caught me off guard.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I was waiting for something else, and he just went live with it. He like surprised me, because we were gonna do you know, a showcase of the avatars, and he went live and just started building on it. So yeah.
Yeah, because I realized, I was like, man, this thing seems to be kind of easy the moment that you understand the basics. So I was like, why am I just learning for myself? I thought I can go live. And what's the problem if I make some error? If I need to, it's a test try, but at least maybe somebody's watching, they can learn it too. It's like, and that's why I did this thing on live and started to put together all the pieces that import and resize. And it feels good because the community support these. They send messages like, hey, bro, thank you for you sharing these. And it's just my way also, as I like to do this thing I've been doing in the past with all the metaverse. I was like, okay, it's another verse that I can support the community that way, somehow. And that's why I'll keep it doing. We will probably do another session. I just need to have some free time because I want to introduce the Pepe DJ inside
Oh,
of
nice. Yeah.
Wonderful. Hell yeah. Yeah, definitely looking forward to anything you guys kind of bring into the NATRIX. And yeah, you guys picked a great parcel location, and I guess we did a good job as far as like I think we picked like 10 or 12 parcels. Just kind of like, I don't know, establish a nucleus of some sort, or we were hoping like a nucleus would form, and it's giving us a lot of good data, right? Because the people who've picked those parcels around us, you guys included, are building a lot of cool shit. Yeah. It's a lot of like moving parts, right? And it's stressing the limitations, which is exactly what we needed to kind of like identify.
Yeah. Basically, the downtown of NATRIX is very congested.
Yeah, if you go visit it yourself, there's definitely like, like you're in a rave, right? You're just zigging and zagging for a little bit. Once you kind of like acclimate, things like run smoothly. But that's what we needed to figure out, like, because we want this to scale to the entire Bitmap network, if possible.
860,000.
Yeah, like if you own a Bitmap, you have the right technical components as long as you opt to, be a part of this technology stack, essentially.
Yeah.
Which is what we're developing. So, yeah, you guys are doing a great job. If you can, keep making more content, because that's only going to help us, right, at the end of the day. But there is another thing that we haven't. Actually, there's several things we haven't introduced yet for creators like you guys.
We still have a lot to build in the NATRIX left.
Yeah, but one specific thing, the metas, right? The tokenized applications that are deployable on these parcels. So there's a framework in development for this stuff. But essentially, it's going to like interconnect these assets to basically a smart layer of technology where you can program these different functionalities with them, right? So give us your thoughts as far as like once this framework becomes available, do you foresee yourselves building content like this? Do you see any additional value to functional applications in the metaverse? Like, just give us your overall thoughts on that.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, for me, that's the main reason. What I mean, for me, it's pretty easy to see this thing since the beginning. And even J-Raw, where we've been talking all the different projects because before of this, and everything was around the metaverse. So for the metas, I think it's like the same way, you know, I think it's just the perfect combination. Let's say you have the block drops, and now I can block drop somebody, and then you may have a meta. So maybe it's an application that you can use with this specific block drop. So it's not just like, okay, I'm gonna do the claim and that's it. No, you have more to explore. And from the points of content creator, right? It's a new horizon to explore because the way that I understand, and for BitAvatars, that's how we are working. We already talking with some how can I say, some sort of influences, let's say like that. But because the idea is like they can have those BitAvatars, and then they can use these inside of, let's say, the NATRIX or whatever other metaverse to create their own content and promote another projects, right? And that's the whole idea. Let's say you have your avatar inside of there, then you have your meta, your application. So let's say you maybe it's a clothes store, right? As we've been seeing with the Natcats and all that. So they are kind of exposing all the clothes, right? And seems like we would like the idea, right, brother? So yeah, man, I'm just like, but that's the way that our mind works. That's the way that our mind works. We works like, as long as we have people that are honesty and open to collaborate, I think we can grow faster as ever because the amounts of creative people I'm seeing there, it's crazy. And to have, you know, a platform that is forcing this, because it's kind of forcing. You gotta understand, at least for me, as a creative mind that I believe myself is, when I saw somebody building something inside of the Matrix, I'm started to think, okay, I need to build some stuff cool. I cannot just come up here and drop a square on my land. Look around because the cool of the nature is there. You can be there on live, you know, and look around and maybe somebody's building, and you start to figure out, you know, okay, somebody is building some different stuff here. So you kind of get inspiration from that too. And we kind of all collaborate, and that's very nice, you know, from that point. So the meta for me is like the way that I see it's a platform that kind of understand how creators' mind works and trying to provide the most tools they can. So they say like, okay, guys, we are going to give you the tools, and now that's on you. You know, you're gonna beat up on top. You can express your mind and create. That's how I see. So yeah, I'm looking forward to explore this thing. I even, you know, exchange some DMs with the older guys, trying to understand a bit more. But fully bullish on that. And also, I would like to make even a question for you guys that I believe many maybe be would like to, you know, about the metas. When you guys say like the framework, this is gonna be like everybody that have a land, let's say like that, would be able to use those tools. Or this is somebody needs to kind of deploy this, and we can go in Mint or something like that.
Yeah, so the idea of a meta is a developer would create an application. Let's say it's a business, like a kiosk, like you were mentioning earlier. And let's say that that you have a piece of land on some random bitmap, and you could purchase this asset and deploy it on your land, and that could be a way to generate passive like revenue on your parcel. As long as you encourage people to come to your land and actually purchase whatever asset that kiosk is producing, let's say wearables, then you would be generating some income when people interact with that kiosk and purchase a wearable. And so you can apply that to pretty much anything that you can think of that is a functional asset or even a non-functional asset. But it's a way that people who don't necessarily have like development skills can participate in the metaverse and even generate some income based on like what exactly that meta is and what it does.
Yeah, and that's and that's like the power unlock, I think, of parcelization, right? At the end of the day, like what we believe Bitmap is all about is like the value is actually in these parcels, because you have ownership of developer bandwidth is what we call it, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's valuable hosting space for these applications, and it's up to the developers at the end of the day to figure out like what are going to be the killer apps of the metaverse, like what's going to bring people in. There's a wide spectrum of how you can achieve this, from all the way down from like just a singular app experience. Like, we built things in the past, like a graffiti wall, for example, just has a small micro transaction. You can go in, people can pay something small, an in-world transaction, just to put some art on a digital wall, right?
Yeah.
And this is like an infinite canvas that continues to evolve over time. People are essentially these in-world transactions are being split between that whoever owns that graffiti wall, who's hosting it, which is the parcel owner.
That's right.
And then the builder, the developer who actually built this thing, right? So this is all smart contract facilitated.
Yep.
And that's the beauty behind it, right? You don't have to like trust any middleman between all this like economic flow, right? And that's what we're trying to support. So then, and that can be applied to a much broader, more complex far end of the spectrum, where you can build an entire game ecosystem with multiple assets, multiple metas that communicate with one another to form a cohesive ecosystem, right? A closed loop ecosystem. So that's how you build very complex microeconomics within, but that contributes to a broader economic like equation.
Yeah,
right?
there's predictions that the metaverse is going to be generating trillions of dollars in volume. And so we're, Iman and I discuss this pretty often. We're wondering like how exactly is that going to happen?
Yeah.
And so supporting like this economic layer and this functionality of like the metas and being able to support all the parties that are involved in the metaverse, such as the landowner, the creators, the developers, the network, all that stuff is, I think, what's going to contribute to that $1 trillion ecosystem that the digital nation is going to end up becoming. So we're here in the final minutes, guys. Any final thoughts on when this mint is going to happen and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna make the post today, right? So we can say it here probably when this goes live, we'll be there already.
Okay.
So the mint is going live October 24, right? So it's this week. We are like in 3 days. In 3 days, the next Thursday. So and the mint price also. That's why we're gonna post the mint price. We're gonna have 4 different phases.
Okay.
Right. We're gonna have 2 type of GTDs. The first GTD one is for the early supporters. The guys that would be in the Discord before everybody else. And the price is gonna start on 0.00077, like 77,000 sats, right? 3077. And then we have the GTD phase 2. It's going to be 0.00088, and that's gonna first come first serve. There's gonna be all the communities that we have the receive those first come first serve spots, right? It's gonna be 0.00099, and then finally the public mint if he still has something, because maybe first come first serve we eat all that. It's very over allocated. I can tell you it's very over allocate first come first serve, but then the public is gonna be 0.011 0.011, right?
Okay.
So yeah, so basically that's how it's gonna work. And about the time, that's something that we need to have more conversation with you guys to really figure out the way to the block numbers and all that. But I think this is a good scope.
Okay, so 4 different phases, October 24th, and we need to kind of nail down exactly which block height this activation is going to occur. So yeah, that is in a few days. Let's say 3 days on Thursday, and so yeah, this is going to be an exciting sort of adventure into the metaverse and having this interoperable asset, as well as like this functional aspect of an avatar too. So thank you guys so much for your time. This has been very interesting conversation, just talking about the metaverse and Bitmap and like all the stuff that's happening, revolving around the metaverse, especially on Bitcoin. So thank you so much for your time. I guess any final words that you want people to take away? I know that we talked about the mint happening on October 24th. Any more, I guess, upcoming discussions on like building inside the NATRIX or another live stream on kind of building inside that world?
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Like I say before, probably before the mint, we're gonna go live again to build more on top of the land. And you guys, we have multiple lands a part of that, and also the idea is to have a bigger one where we can showcase. We are working on something already on the 3D side, so just for building this experience. When you have the BitAvatars, you're gonna enjoy that. And another thing I can say, I had a server that is a GTA game. I don't know if you guys know, it's a 5VM.
Oh yeah.
It's online, so I have a server of that. So I know, we have a bunch of different clothes, different assets there. So the idea for me is bring it up all that into the NATRIX, all the metaverse that we can. So we're gonna express, let's say like that, if something positive to you guys, you can have in mind. We're gonna stress the whole meta, and block drops is something that the holders we're gonna see in the timeline very often, because I've been doing this in the past with the city that we have there, and that's the idea, clothes, accessories, everything, in terms of block drop, this is gonna happen. And most important, I would say, previous the mint, anyone that can enter the Discord, the link is in the X account, because we already did in the past a special event for Discord member only,
Okay.
and it was a free mint by the time. So I'm not saying that we are going to do this because it needs to watch the timeline, how it works, but it can happen anytime. When we do this, we don't make any announcement. We just post in the Discord, say, hey guys, the mint is open for, whatever amounts that we open. So make sure to watch this.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that says it all. I mean, everyone who's watching, definitely join the Discord. That's where all the action happens. And please pay attention to the mint that's occurring on the October 24th. There's so many things happening for BitAvatars and Bitmap Studios. So thank you guys so much for your time, and everyone watching, thank you guys as well. And we will catch you in the next podcast. Peace.
Appreciate that, guys. Peace.
Appreciate it, guys.